Hey YouTube, Chuck, Power Addicts. Alright, 2003 Honda Shadow, Spirit VT 750 DC. Just in case you want to get all techie with the model stuff. Check it out, front tire is worn. We're going to put another front tire on this thing. Well, we're going to pull the wheel, we're going to let the shop balance and mount it. But we got to get that front wheel off, so hence the subject of the video. First things first. You can go ahead and break these loose if you want, but we want to get this caliper off first. Get this thing right here out of the way. And what you want to use, if y'all wondering the jack stands and stuff here, I'll put a link in the video that you guys check out how we jack this thing up. Cool? Cool. Alright, first thing first, get them right there off, 12mm. I'll be right back. Alright, you see I got the back down here. We got this bolt and this bolt, 12mm. Then your caliper should pretty much take and rock it right off there. Now up in here you got take this off here. That looks to be about a 10, I believe. Grab my tool, see? Yeah, it's a 10. So you want to take that off because it's holding your brake line and all that, which really prevents you from pulling it off. You can, but it's a major pain. So yeah, pull that off next, and your caliper should slide right off. Be right back. Alright, after you get the caliper off, and a little bit later on when we go to put it back together, we got to pinch those pistons in. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Now, next thing we need to do is get this axle out. To get this axle out, you got to use a, what size is this thing? It's a metric 6 Allen head wrench, which you can see I've already broken them loose. So you got to take out 1, 2, 3, 4. Take all those right there out. Well, you don't really have to take them completely out. You just got to make sure they're good and loose. Because what those are for, when they're good and tight, they squeeze the fork together down here at the bottom where it splits. It squeezes this axle and prevents it from ever turning. So it makes sure that axle stays in. So 4 pinch bolts, loosen them up. And I say loosen them up, like I said, I've already cracked them loose. Turn them out 3 or 4 turns, you're good to go. See, I've got the pinch bolts, they're just backed out. Now we need to take that out. And that would be a number 22. Check out the sockets, they're cool, ain't they? Oh. Anyway, that one, there. I turned it right the first time, huh? You back that out. Now here's what you want to do is back it out some, but if you take it all the way out, you're not going to be able to do your next step. Take and leave it at about like that right there, and get you a hammer and tap into that axle right there. At the end of this nut, a bolt, I'll get it right in a minute. It'll start pushing that axle out. Okay, you'll notice on where I showed you guys to tap that bolt on the other side. Watch this right here when I start tapping it. Back the bolt out a little bit more. You see how that axle's sliding right out of there. So I'm going to finish pulling this axle out and I'll be right back with you. Okay, you see right there where I've got the axle, where I showed you guys where I partially pulled that axle out and the bolt's gone out right here. Now here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show you guys how to pull that axle completely out. This bushing right here, you don't have to worry about it falling out. A lot of bikes, this is nothing but a spacer between everything. This one is also, because your wheel bearing's up inside the wheel here, this one will not just necessarily fall out, and you cannot put it in wrong because you got this shouldered edge right here. But you'll see once the wheel comes off what I'm talking about. And so what we do is, it helps if you got somebody holding the front wheel up. It ain't absolutely necessary, but it takes the bind off the axle when it's coming out. So it does help. So put the screwdriver through the holes and just twist and rotate. See how you notice it's loose over here. Now this is your speed sensor. This right here is what tells you if you're going 60 miles an hour or whatever. This is what does that for you. So keep an eye on it, because when you get the axle out, that's going to fall backwards more than likely. Okay, that's out. Now he drops the front wheel down a little bit. Go drop on that. Get out of there. There we go. See, there's your speed sensor. That's That right there spinning, it's got a little magnetic flying magnets inside here with a Hall effect sensor. It shoots electronic pulses up to your speedometer and says, hey, I'm going this fast. So then just roll it out of there. Now let me show you about your spacer. Just gently twist and rotate it. Don't snatch it, don't grab it, don't twist it, because this is your wheel seal here. If you damage this wheel seal, you're riding in the rain sometimes, you get caught in the rain, you're going to get water introduced into your bearings, and it'll shorten the life of them because your bearings are technically sealed. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up. Those are sealed bearings inside there, but you really want to prevent damage to it as much as possible. And you notice this, then you got your shoulder lip here. You can't put it in wrong. So when you go put it back together, you just simply slide that in like that. It buzz right against the wheel bearing and you're good to go. So at this point, we're going to pick up our tools, and we're taking this thing to the motorcycle shop, and they're going to change the tire out for us. See you in a bit. Alright everyone, check it out. We got new shoes on the wheels now. Now let's put this baby on. First thing you really want to do, your pads, we need to push these pistons back right here. So first thing we need to do is get these pads off. Is right here is a flathead screwdriver. A screw that takes a flathead screwdriver, so we got to get that out first. Which we've already broken it loose because we checked it earlier. Well, broke it loose earlier. And there it is. By hand. Once you get so far out, it'll work its way out, but you just got to keep kind of twisting, turning it back and forth, and it'll pull its way out. That is the pin that holds your shoes in place. Then you turn it like this, and your shoes should pretty much come on out. Or your pads, should I say, actually, what those are. Now, we had these out earlier, just checking them. And what you want to do, if this camera will focus, if you see the grooves, these were packed full of brake dust. And I took my screwdriver and ran through there and cleaned out the brake dust as best I possibly could. But what you want to do is get you a knife, which I'll get in a minute, clean those grooves out good. If you look, see the depth of those grooves? It's kind of like your wear indicators. You don't want to run your shoes, your pads to the point that those wear indicators are totally gone. These have got some life left on them. But also, no, they're not too awfully expensive. If you want to go ahead and replace them, go for it. We're not going to at the moment. But, no, like I said, those little grooves, keep an eye on them. That kind of gives you a good indication of how much pad you got left. Let me get focused. Where you at? Okay, if you see right here, you can see these are your pistons that pushes, whenever you apply your brake, your front brake, these are the pistons that squeezes your brake pads together, which squeezes the rotor, which makes you stop or slow down, whatever you got to do. Alright, but before you can put that caliper back on easily, these things have got to be pushed back a little bit. This bracket here, if you take and grab hold of it, you can take one hand here, pull this bracket, I'm sorry, I'll talk in a minute, pull it this way, push it out this way, and it'll separate enough that you can get,
almost came out actually.
Yeah, well, it'll probably come on off, but I haven't pulled all these right completely off, but yeah, it just might, but you really don't need to. What I do with them, there you are. Then you take your pair of channel locks. Now normally I would do this with a C-clamp or something, but I happen not to have any of that with me at the moment because I am like a state or two away. But you just get behind there and gently, if you squeeze on that piston, it'll slide that piston right back up inside there and give you room to put everything back on. Come over to this one. And like I said, it just takes very light pressure. If you try squeezing too hard, you can kick that piston. Like the piston runs like this. Okay, it should be good. The piston runs like this. If you squeeze it, one side or another too much, and you twist that piston inside that bore, it can scratch the bore and cause a leakage inside, or it can cause just damage to the seals on the inside. So you'll make sure you even pressure coming back. Now, if I would have had the proper tools, what would have been the right thing to do? Okay, I'm going to slide this bracket back in place. See how easy it slides? Now, the right thing to do, if I would have had it with me, which I don't, obviously, or I'd done it, is have your brake pad in place here and get you a small C-clamp and go from here, and just like your C-clamp, and tighten that C-clamp up lightly. It'll push that in, it'll push both pistons in evenly and at the same time. But I did show you a way to improvise, since we're right here in a apartment complex parking lot doing this. So you do what you got to do with what you got to do it with. Alright, let's put this front wheel back on. Caliper back together, and I just want to point out something real quick. Whenever you're putting that pin through here, there is a spring plate down here at the bottom. Right, I'll get the camera focus. There's a spring plate right there. It wants to push up on those pads the whole time you're putting that pin. If you squeeze your pads downward, that pin goes in a lot easily, much more easily. And what that's for, it keeps from your pads rattling and squealing. And once you get a minute to get the pin run through, you don't have to make that crazy tight. You just want a good tight snug. So lock that pin down with a good tight snug, then you put that plug in behind it, and you should be good to go with your caliper. As I pointed out earlier, this part right here that sits up inside your wheel, this is like a magnetic flying wheel that sends an electronic pulse up to your speedometer that tells you how fast you are, how fast you're going down the road. Now, the reason I'm showing you this again, I just want to point out, look real close at your sensor here. That's your flying magnet wheel. Tabs there, tab there. Now, it's pretty easy to put it in, but what you want to make sure of, again, tab, tab, space here, space here. Look right here on your ring. This is inside your wheel. This is your front wheel bearing. There's a tab sticking up there and a tab sticking up there. The only thing you really got to watch, and this tab does not spin because it locks inside some grooves down here. This tab, these tabs right here needs to be inside of these low spots inside here. Obviously pretty easy to do, but I'm pointing that out simply for the sake of making sure that you align that correctly, because if you inadvertently set on top of these, the high sides of this, it's not going to go. I mean, before it boils down to it, if it does go and you force it, you can end up either breaking your speed sensor here or flattening out your tabs. Either way, it's not going to be a good thing. So I just want to point that out before we set this in there to put the front wheel back on. Here's your speed sensor, here's your fork. Now, it's kind of hard to show you this while we're putting the axle in. Speed sensor has this little riser above it right here. Fork has this tab sticking out. This rise on the speed sensor needs to be behind that tab, because your wheel is rotating this way, coming around like this, so it's going to try to rotate that speed sensor. So what you want to do is put that in place, butt it up against this tab here, so it does not rotate. Because you see, I don't have the front end tight yet. See how it rocks and rotates? You want to get the axle put in place, rotate it forward until that line right there, that tab up here, lines up with that tab. It butts against it. At that point there, you can start tightening the axle up and put that bolt in that's over on this side. The one goes in there. Now we can put this right here in and tighten up the front forks. But it is very important to make sure that speed sensor is on the correct side. Alright, we've got this put in. It's good and it's pretty darn good and tight. And what happens is, the reason you have these holes here, we stuck a screwdriver in, twist and rotate to get it out. But what it's also good for is when you're tightening that bolt up over on that side, this thing tries, the whole axle tries to turn. Because you don't tighten the pinch bolts up first. Do not, do not, do not. Because what's going to happen, if you tighten these pinch bolts up first, it doesn't allow that axle to squeeze the tubes, the fork tubes in correctly. Axle tightens first, then you tighten your pinch bolts. So you take your little small screwdriver like you seen us a moment ago, stick in there to wedge it in place, hold it, tighten up the other side, and good to go. Now we tighten up the pinch bolts. Okay, pinch bolts they're good and tight. You want them good and tight, but don't have a hernia, because after all, you are screwing straight into aluminum right here. Even though it's pretty strong stuff, you don't want to strip it, because then you got a problem. But now up next, we are putting on the caliper. The reason I told you guys to push back those pistons. Here's your brake pads. See, I got my thumb stuck in between them. Separate them to the point that they're as far open as possible, because at that point, which is, I don't know how I'm going to show you how it slides up on there like that, but anyway, yeah, anyway, you want the brake disc go between those pads. Then you line your holes up and put your bolts in. Not rocket science. There you go. Okay, last but definitely not least, be sure you put that bolt back in, put your cable back in the right place. Notice your speed sensor, the cable comes up behind this right here along the forks. Around, there's your rubber grommet that locks into that wire right there. Then you bolt. One note also, whenever you put your front caliper on, after squeezing those pistons back, do not. Oh wow, my motorcycle's done, let's go ride. And you're gonna take off. First time you hit your brakes, you ain't got crap. You ain't gonna have no brakes first time. Get on your bike, squeeze your handle a couple times, that'll reseat the pistons back in place. Because the first 3 or 4 squeezes on that brake lever, you ain't got squat. I promise you, you don't want to get caught up like that. Because I mean, free spins, hit the brake, locks. We've already squeezed that lever, what, 3 times was it before it grabbed?
3 or 4 times, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you come up on a stoplight, intersection, all of a sudden you hit no brakes, you're right in front of a car, pump those brakes before you even sit the bike down. So we have got this front tire on. I'm going to fire this baby up in a minute, take it out for a ride, because one thing about motorcycle tires, when they mold the tires, it's got a wax film over top of them. Take you a good heavy Scotch-Brite pad and scrub down your tire real good, or take it out for a ride, but be an experienced rider, because that tire is slick for the first 50 to 100 miles or so. So I'm fixing to take this thing out for a ride, get this tire broken good. So please people, be careful. It's great to ride, but there's so much to it that you can get in trouble really fast. So, showed you how to change out that front tire. If you refer back to my other video, you'll see that how we jack this thing up, put it on jack stands and stuff. Be sure to scrub that tire. Scrub meaning, you know, take it out for a good ride, smooth easy ride, no hard corners. Get all the wax film built up, scrubbed off the tire. Or get one of those heavy Scotch-Brite pads and scrub the tire down with soap and water real good. Just get that wax film off of it. But even after that, the tire's still going to be a little bit slick for a first little while. So be careful with brand new tires. So if you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to share those videos. Share Facebook, Twitter, all those other social media things that I really still haven't learned much about. That's alright. I'm still sharing my knowledge with you, and you share the knowledge with everybody else. Everybody wins. It's a good thing. Do that. So everyone, thumbs up, comment, and well, peace out. Ride safe. Later.